Welcome. This is Leading with Spirit, the show that gives you an in-depth look at topics like what it takes to navigate your spiritual journey, how to heal yourself and grow your spiritual gifts, and balanced practices to expand your business and your spiritual leadership. I'm your host, Spirit Bird, shamanic teacher, healer, and author, here to guide you on your journey to becoming your most potent spiritual leader. Results. That's what we really want, right? We can say that we enjoy the journey and the learning, and we can mean it, and we still want results. In today's show, I'm sharing with you the core beliefs and behaviors that I notice exist in those who actually get results versus those who don't. When I started shaman school, I wanted to bring forward the next level of spiritual gifts in my students and journeyers. I wanted to help them deeply heal, and I wanted to help them get really confident in how to use their unique gifts for an amazing offer, right? Like actually doing something with the gifts. I saw this place where so many people got stuck again, where it was either they had acquired all of this spiritual knowledge, but they haven't actually healed the part of themselves that felt comfortable working with conventions, or the other way around, where they were so caught in conventions and the norms and appropriateness and being what they thought they're supposed to be, that they really actually needed to loosen up and learn some trust and learn to listen to their own knowing, right? So I really love helping people find the center there. Where it's either a program that is supposed to teach about spiritual business, but it really just teaches like mindset strategies, or it's an amazing spiritual program, and after it's done, they're like, okay, good luck, have fun. I just dropped all of this incredible information on you. Good luck. And I wanted to fill the gap and offer a higher level spiritual upgrade to a lot of the spiritual programs that are a little bit more fluff, right? And support students in bringing their work forward through their business, through marketing and action steps that will actually help them do it. Another one of my prayers for shaman school was that my students will move through the fear of sharing their spiritual self in an authentic way and truly trust themselves. That is my prayer. So as I'm in the process of upgrading my business and my offers, how I show up and actually what I do, upgrading all of that, in my private life and in my business life, I'm realizing more and more the importance of trusting myself to bring the visions forward successfully. The visions that I have of where I'm going. I've got to trust that I actually can do it. And then that makes investing in the upgrades that I'm feeling, that are coming, that I'm courting, less scary because I know I'll succeed. I also know how to deal with failure because I've totally failed. The best way to get over your fear of failure is failing. And then you'll see like, oh, it's actually okay. I didn't die. I lived through it. I actually know how to deal with failure too, Now you can believe in yourself even more. Anyway, so even though this is my prayer, and all students from shaman school have embodied their wisdom and their confidence, like that is like across the board where they really transform. What's been reflected back to me is that a major source of pain in their lives, like feeling misunderstood, feeling paralyzed with anxiety, feeling afraid to share who they really are, feeling afraid to make a big change in their life, seeking a spiritual partner. finding a home, all of these things that were sort of in the background of what was actually troubling them the most were things that they resolved in the program, right? But those reasons, the biggest reasons, are actually not why most people join, even though it's the thing that's most important to them. And also a place where I see real transformation, like the real game-changing transformation. What most people want is tangible results, right? And the majority of my students that are here to apply their learning to directly to their business, that are joining shaman school to upgrade themselves and grow their business, that's where they want to see results. And we get there. First and foremost, most people that are in the program for that reason, which is probably about 70%, are there to work on their grow themselves, grow their business. Most of them, if they didn't already have a business, start one. And most of them at least double their prices, right? So though that feels like tangible results. And so what I wanted to share with you today is how did they do it? What's the difference between someone who quote unquote makes it and someone who hasn't yet? Because not everybody does. And these are really important to keep in mind, because in the world of getting support, there's a way that we can sometimes hand our power over and expect other people to do it for us or tell us how to do it. And so I want to share with you today the 4 primary things or behaviors or beliefs that separate someone who sees results and gets success compared to someone who hasn't yet. So first is the belief that you can only save yourself, that actually it's not anybody else's job to save you. This is a really fundamental piece. Oftentimes, the way we are in our relationships is the way we will show up in our business and also in any training that we're doing, whether it's business training or spiritual training or anything in between. So if you have the belief that I can't do this because this person is X, Y, and Z, we end up getting wrapped up in this belief that you need to be rescued or other people need to change. So I'm not going to go into a ton of that. This is just the primary foundational piece, right? Nobody's going to save you but yourself. It's nobody else's job to save you but yourself. And also, it's not your job to save anybody else. Also, nobody actually even needs saving. And when you really find that understanding in yourself, that is a good starting place. This is where we can really start to, see results in the world. It's something that we work through in my program, but also it's something that most people that, again, get results have some sort of knowing of that in their body. They may have not actually seen results in their life yet. They might not have actually put it to practice in their life yet, but they're starting to know, okay, I'm feeling this victim thing is happening. They're starting to see where they're becoming a victim in their own story, right? And so when you start to notice that, that's a really good sign, because that means that you're available to actually make changes and get good results. Number 2. So you have having to have the belief that you don't actually need to be saved. And then right behind that is actually being able to ask for help or support, right? So once you really have that healthy relationship that you don't need to be saved and you're not a victim and nobody needs to rescue you, from there you can ask for help in a way where you're not like reaching or pulling somebody else down into your pit, but you are actually asking for support. You're asking for the ladder. So the most successful people do this. They get clear on what they want and how, and what they want their life to be like, what they need to grow to become that. And then they find somebody who can guide them or ask for support from their family or their friends or community, so they can have the time to focus on the things. Right. So sometimes it looks like, getting a training or working with a coach or, doing a new project or going back to school, right? Or doing a mentorship, or actually just like befriending somebody who's doing what you really want to do. Like almost every successful person, that's the path they took. They found somebody doing what they wanted to do and they learned from that person. Right. So they were willing to ask for help. But again, sometimes this is learning from the people, and sometimes where we need to learn to ask for help is, it's just supporting our lives, childcare, or, getting somebody to clean the house so you have more time to invest in things that will actually move the needle forward in your life instead of just maintaining the status quo. It's going back to what I was sharing earlier about that self-trust of like investing in the dream you want instead of just sort of like maintaining where you are. Yeah. And this is also good to know because sometimes what a lot of people just need is accountability. So maybe you've already done training and you have your goals in mind, and you have some action steps in mind, but you're actually not good at following through. Then here again, what you actually might need is to just ask for help, meaning I want to tell somebody what I need to do so I can be accountable for myself. Where's my friend who will call me every Sunday and check in with where I'm at on my goals and give me a little bit of crap if I haven't accomplished them yet, So yeah, you got to be able to ask for help to grow, to become the thing you want to become. Number 3, all of the successful people that I've worked with know how to be their own coach. And again, we dive deeper into all of these things in shaman school and help develop them. And this is something that the individuals that have actually been successful really, really embody and really, really commit to. So being your own coach means you catch yourself when you're in patterns that aren't serving you, and you talk yourself into the thing that actually does serve you. You talk yourself into the action step you've been avoiding. You got to know your own patterns here, because most of us have patterns around why or how we avoid doing something that we want to do. Like a lot of us use overwhelm. What we do is we get into, doing some action steps or some tasks, and then we sort of like zoom up out of our body and get like way above everything or way out in front of everything. And so now we're looking at like everything that needs to happen between now and the next 3 years. And then we get overwhelmed and then we don't do anything. And actually the overwhelm is the saboteur. It's the thing that you do to block yourself. And I catch myself doing that too, where it's like, holy crap. I sort of become almost frozen sometimes because I'm like, oh my God, all these things I need to do. And now I'm just so tired thinking about all these things I need to do. And then I just like go lay down or don't do them, or go get a snack instead. And so I'm successful because I'm really good at coaching myself. Oh, I'm doing the overwhelm thing, the thing where I bring in overwhelm to stop myself from getting what I want because I'm afraid. I'm scared of getting what I want. But now that I know that that's what I'm doing, I can actually just call myself back and be like, okay, all of the next year and 11 months of the to-do list that I just imagined can go away. Let me look at the task that I'm doing right now. What is the most important thing for me to do today, right now? And then I focus on just that task. And then when I find myself picking up my phone and looking at Facebook, I'm like, oh, doing the thing again. Let me come back, put it down. Let me actually put my phone in the other room, come back. And then I find myself in the fridge every 5 minutes. Oh, I'm doing the thing. I distract myself because I'm afraid of succeeding at the thing that I want. So I can just call myself back and pick up where I left off. I don't have to be hating myself for it. I don't have to use judgment. In fact, that's one of the other ways that one of the other patterns is to use judgment to keep yourself from moving forward. You actually spend so much time hating yourself or judging yourself from doing things that aren't the right thing to do, that it's the way that you stop yourself from moving forward. So you got to be able to coach yourself. When you are judging yourself, know that that's the thing that you do to keep yourself from moving forward. And actually, then instead of judging yourself from judging yourself, you can just say, this is the thing that I'm doing that keeps me from finding success. And instead, I can actually just drop the judgment. I can just say, this is what I am doing without the judgment attached to it, and therefore I am bad. Right. Another pattern you might have is spreading yourself too thin. This is a common thing that I see also, where it's like you invest in one thing, and then right after you do that, you actually invest or commit in like 3 other things. So then you're either stretched out in your time, where you're spread really thin with the amount of time you can invest in each thing, which blocks you from being able to accomplish them, or you do that with money, and then you invest or commit your money to a bunch of different things all at the same time. And it's a way of spreading yourself too thin so that you prevent yourself from moving forward, right? This is all subconscious patterning that we do. And you got to know what it is, like your special recipe of what you do, so you can catch it in action and coach yourself moving through it. Which, quick plug, if you're working on this phase, if you're learning to identify your patterns, you can check out my Foundations of Shamanism course that will help you, among many things, learn to identify what you do to block yourself and ways to move through that. Anyway, so moving to number 4, I would say that this is probably number 4 and maybe most important. They're all equally important, actually, but you got to do the work, man. You got to do the work. And this seems like an obvious one, but sometimes it isn't. And I've actually had, I think, 2 people that haven't completed shaman school. And neither were really disgruntled, but they believed they weren't getting what they needed. But what they actually needed was to do the work. They weren't actually coming to class or doing the curriculum or any of the practices. They were just hanging out. So, yeah, this is really important. You got to do the work. I find oftentimes it comes back to the belief that we need to fix our regular life and issues before we can do spiritual work. But actually, doing the spiritual work is what resolves the life issues. Fighting with your partner, constant money problems, unhappiness at work. It's like, I see it over and over again. And I do this sometimes too. It's like, I need to resolve the issues with my partner. And that's really important. So I actually don't have time to do the thing that I agreed to do. But then we'll be in class, and the thing we're working on is the exact medicine that person needs for that exact block they're on, and they don't come and do the work. So, yeah, there's really no way around this. Yeah. And it's important to keep it in mind. And this kind of goes back to, actually, all of these sort of come and play together, because then you got to coach yourself. Got to be willing to do the work. And you got to coach yourself through it. And you've got to understand that nobody's making you do anything in your life that you're not in agreement to. Nobody needs to save you. You're not a victim. And if you're having trouble where you are, you got to ask for help, you know? Yeah. And oftentimes I see that this plays out with kind of this belief that we're looking for a magic pill to fix it all. But that is just straight up not how we get results. Going to one big long retreat isn't going to get you the real results you're seeking. Going to some ayahuasca ceremony isn't going to get you the results you're seeking. Giving your power over to a teacher and not practicing what they're suggesting isn't going to give you the results that you need. You got to do the work. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that you have to turn into a workhorse. In fact, I think actually what I'm noticing in this moment is a pattern that I'm seeing is oftentimes the individuals that don't do the work are also because they're constantly working on so many other things that don't matter. It's like it's sort of like the spread yourself too thin, because they're in a state where they feel like they're working really hard and spinning their wheels on things that don't actually help them. They avoid doing the work for the thing that actually will help them. And then again, the busyness of being stretched out and having your wheels spinning all the time drops you into this belief that you are a victim or somebody needs to save you from all this work you have to do all the time, or how many people you have to help or save, right? So just kind of noticing that in the moment that oftentimes those that avoid doing the work are busy doing work that doesn't matter. It's part of the patterning too, right? But doing the work doesn't mean that you turn into a workhorse. Doing the work, though can be challenging at times, is also joyous and fun when you're doing work that actually matters to you and will make a difference in your life. And you can't skip this step. Keep that in mind as your biggest reminder when you do need to coach yourself. Oh, I actually have to do it. Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. And again, you can get support. Free up your time to be able to do it. I'll call a friend and ask them to help you stay accountable to yourself. Lots of different tools that you can use here. But you got to be willing to do the work. And the people that I've worked with that have the most amazing results have all of these qualities. They know they're not a victim, that they don't need to be saved. They take responsibility for themselves, what I should say. They are willing to ask for help and support. They pay attention to what they're doing and they coach themselves through it, and they do the work. So maybe just something to play with here is of these 4 traits that are in all of the people that I've worked with that accomplish their goals. Which one do you feel like you avoid the most or could grow in the most? Again, self-responsibility, asking for help, being your own coach, or doing the work. And once you've located, maybe just try to pick one where you could see yourself growing in the most, where it would be, where you need the most growth. And just take this next month and practice, again, taking baby steps. If asking for help is an edge, begin asking for help with things that aren't super triggering or don't require a huge commitment from somebody else, just simple things. I was actually just practicing this recently because although I've gotten much better at asking for help and support, there's still a way that this goes back to accommodating others, that I don't want to burden somebody with my needs. But then I realized, oh my gosh, there's a couple places they're both car related, but I need to take my car to the shop. And so it would be nice to have a ride, which I can just get an Uber or take the bus. It's so not a big deal. But I found myself being afraid to even ask. And going back to our previous episode, it's not the point to get what you want, but to ask for what you want. Right. And so now that I could see that I was able and available to ask for for help, for support, then I can start moving it up and applying it to places that might be a little bit more triggering or might be a bigger ask. If you feel like you need to work on coaching yourself, then start with starting to track your patterns. What's the pattern that you do often that keeps you from producing results, or that keeps you from following through, or that makes everything you do take a lot longer, right? So just start with tracking what your pattern is. And then step two, start noticing the pattern. Even if you don't change it yet, just begin by being like, oh, this is the thing. Here I am. I'm doing it again. Cool. I noticed it. Celebrate that, right? Because you should celebrate it. It's progress. Yeah. If you feel like you are the victim a lot and you are looking for someone to rescue you, a great place to play is trying to get a bigger picture, seeing where the other people are coming from and where you might, on some level, be agreeing or maybe even subconsciously wanting the situation that's happening. Maybe it feels safer to be the victim. Again, I always have to say this when I'm talking about victim stuff. Obviously, if you are actually in physical danger or somebody is emotionally abusing you, get the fuck out. And if it's more of a story in your head about how you can never get this, or every time you try to do this, this happens, or if this person was different, like that kind of thinking is really what I'm talking about here, right? And if it's actually doing the work, that might be the easiest one. That one is the easiest one. Just to do it. It's not that complicated. You might need to coach yourself. You might need to work on some mindset. You might need to ask for support. But if that's your main block, then that one's pretty simple. So yeah, hold that focus. Take baby steps. If it's doing the work, give yourself a plan. Write it down. And make small goals. And when you reach those goals, make new goals. Yeah. And by continuing to work on these 4 areas, you'll continue to grow your capacity and your ability to hold yourself accountable naturally. Being able to be well-rounded in all 4 of these areas is how you're going to get the results that you're looking for. And so if you feel like you are not getting the results you're looking for, yeah, again, come back to this and feel into which one is up for you now. Because it's not just one. It's not like we go around one time and we got it. We're going to keep going around and around and around, right? So, yeah. And I'd love to hear from you again here as well. So where are you at with this? What area do you feel like you get stuck on the most? When have you implemented one of these and seen success? I'd love to hear that too. We want to celebrate our wins too, not just celebrate how we need, or not just idealize that we need to grow and grow and grow. We also want to celebrate the progress we've made for ourselves already. Yep. Yeah. Thanks again so much for joining me. Looking forward to being with you again next week. And feel free to shoot me an email or a message if you have any questions. I want to hear from you, hear from how you like the show, hear from you about any other questions that you might have that we can take a look at on this show. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now. Have you been hearing the call to expand your spiritual gifts and step into your next level of conscious leadership? If you're a coach, healer, or a spiritual leader, you can learn more about Shaman School and growing your spiritual business on our website, HoltonHealingArts.com, or send me a DM at Holton Healing Arts. Welcome to today's Member Query episode, where we explore questions about spiritual paths, intuitive gifts, growing a spiritual business, and shamanism. Do you have a question for us? Send us a DM at Holton Healing Arts. Our newest question is, how can I connect more deeply to the earth? Which, of course, is a beautiful question. And I'll say here, this is where I might differ from a lot of other folks that teach shamanic practices is I tend to focus more on building your relationship directly with the spirits and directly with the earth versus teaching like rituals or practices for you to repeat. There's definitely power in them. So I'm not trying to say that that they're pointless or should be ignored. And I feel like what's more important is to really develop your own relationship with life. And while the practices can be powerful and helpful, also there's a way that a lot of us can believe that the power is in the practice versus in your connection with life. So anyway, with that being said, one of the best ways to connect more deeply with the earth is simply with presence. So first, go outside and find a place to sit or to rest. It doesn't have to be some like place away from away from the city or away from any noise or activity. I think that's another thing. It can be helpful to have these more sort of sacred places with more like negative ions and that feel like you're really, really immersed in nature. And it's also not required. Cities are also part of, our whole system, and they have a lot of creativity in them and inspiration in them. But you do want to go outside at least, right, to do this practice. So go outside, find a place to sit, and begin to tune in on an intention. So this could be focusing maybe on a vision that you have that you would like to bring forward, right? Ask or a desire, or a problem that you're working with, or a question that you have. Okay. And so, I find it's helpful to just close my eyes for a few minutes and really get clear on that question. And then take a moment and connect to myself in whatever way works for you, connecting to your heart or grounding. And just spending a moment again, getting really clear on my question or intention. And then when I open my eyes, just taking a moment to stay present and there's a way I almost sort of like send my energy out bigger so it can almost like hold more, or wrapping my awareness around more. And getting present to what's happening in nature. So maybe I'll start to scan and watch for an animal or a bug or something that's moving or seems to be trying to show me something. I might be attracted to a specific tree or a rock. And from there, I can focus in on that being and begin to have a conversation with it, asking about itself, asking about a teaching it might have for me, right? Or maybe noticing the clouds or the sky, or noticing when you think a certain thing, if something changes, or if the weather changes, right? So there's lots of different ways. Life is always communicating with us and always giving us teachings and signs. And so really our job to grow our connection with the earth is to become present and aware of when it's speaking to us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Leading with Spirit. If you did, please share the link for this episode with your biggest takeaway, tagging me at Holton Healing Arts. It would also support me if you subscribed and left a rating and review of the show so we can support more people living their highest purpose. Until next time, journey